Howdy, can you hear me in the room? I see some thumbs up for online. How about in the Senate office?
We can hear you, Angie.
Awesome, thank you so much. So I come to you from a basement in New Jersey, awaiting the birth of my second grandson. And my first grandson is out in the backyard with my husband. So if they come inside, you'll hear clattering. You'll understand. So thank you all for joining us today, and welcome to the 10th meeting of the 42nd session of the Faculty Senate of Texas A&M University. If you're attending the meeting virtually and need a reminder of the Zoom feature used in our Senate meetings, the Zoom tip sheet can be found on our website at the top of the current agenda page. At this time, please make sure your microphone is muted. For those who are on Zoom, Secretary Tarvin will be monitoring the Zoom raise hands function. You'll be called upon typically first before everybody in the room, and then he'll help identify you, and then you can unmute your mic and ask your questions, and I'll be helping with that as well. And in fairness to others, please limit yourself to one question at a time so we can give everybody a chance to ask questions and then go back. And then he and I will both help monitor the chat messages as well. And then we're using the registration function of Zoom to help track our attendance. And most visitors today have been asked to view our live meeting via the live stream. The seating in the room is reserved for our current faculty, staff, and students, as well as accredited member of the press and former faculty as well as invited administrators. Some people, again, may be joining via Zoom if we've asked them to be available to answer questions. And then if there are visitors who would wish to address the Senate, then you'll need to be recognized. If you're in the room, need to be recognized by one of the senators or request to be recognized. And then one of our visitors who are here at our invitation on Zoom will ask that you be recognized also by raising your hand. Okay, so we have some guest speakers today, and I'm going to go ahead and let them start. We have Mr. Ed Pearson, who is our Chief Information Officer and Vice President of Information Technology for Texas A&M University. So, Mr. Pearson, can you come forward?
Howdy. It must be spring, so therefore I get to come to you and talk about quotas in storage. Last year it was Google. This year it's Microsoft. We'll reserve the naming of the one for next year for a little bit. They have all realized that an unlimited for free model probably doesn't work. I know that's a shock to the economists in the room. So they have now come back and decided to give us the option to move forward. Last year, we talked about Google and implemented a set of quotas inside of Google. This year, we're looking at Microsoft. Most of this is just growth of the university and growth of the size of files. Think about your phones. Pictures were very small 4 years ago. The pictures are very big today. That type of growth in data, especially given the AI work that's going on and things like that, is expanding. Just a little bit of a feeder on how we use storage. We have storage that is individualized, so My Drive and OneDrive, and we have storage that is shared across groups of individuals. This gives you a little bit of a flavor. Things that are tied to individuals tend to go away when someone leaves the university. Things that are tied to shared groups stick around. And so we try to encourage whenever we can for folks to put things into shared areas so that we don't have a grad student that leaves and goes somewhere and a bunch of critical data gets wiped out as part of that process. How things are stored, your Outlook data is inside your Exchange mailboxes. Everything else can be stored in either the personal drive or in a SharePoint site. Like I said, the biggest difference is the personal drives, by definition, are personal, and the shared drives are ones that have multiple owners, if you will. The usage of data around these environments is exactly what you would expect it to be. There's a tremendous number of drives set up that have very little space in them. And then there's a relatively low number, but a very high usage on the far right side of that. So 480 drives set up that consume 4.6 petabytes. This is very normal. What this lets us do is try to work with the folks on the right side of that scale to make sure that their data is being stored in a way that makes sense and hopefully achieves whatever they need from a storage point of view. So we start with that list on the right and we work our way back to find and say, are there things we can be doing with the PIs to position them and their data better for themselves as well as the university? Most of this space is very expensive. So if we can move copies of research data, copies of other things out there into the cheaper storage, the cold storage, then we lower our operating costs and we create more space to be used. Another way of saying it, 97%, 98% are within the quotas that we're talking about applying. Those quotas will, if you look at them from a new account creation, there's a student quota, there's a staff quota, and there's a faculty quota. These, like I said, target and get us plenty of space for the average set of users that are out there. And then if you have an existing one that is over these quotas, you get that existing amount plus a margin so that you don't have a space issue to begin with. We do recommend lowering the former students' quotas down and making it basically read-only so that over time that space is freed up as well. SharePoint, the shared drive environment, recommendation is a 10 gig per SharePoint site. You can have multiple SharePoint sites, and you can also expand a SharePoint site by purchasing additional storage. There will be an annual verification where we try to go back to each individual and say, do you still need the stuff that's out there? A lot of times this stuff gets out of sight, out of mind, and we need to work to put it back where we're at least asking the question. Gives you a snapshot view of students, staff, and faculty in terms of where the various sizing of the environment will look like. So this is the part where I've learned my lesson before and make sure I'll extinguish rumors while I have an opportunity. We are not shutting down Google. We are not shutting down Microsoft. We're not forcing everyone to move all of their storage around. So please help us with that rumors going forward. What we are trying to do is position the university and the PIs to have take better advantage of the storage that is out there and use it where appropriate and have options beyond that. Working with each of the PIs out there, each of the faculty and staff to help them find the right place at the right time to have their storage. Time frame that we're looking at, we're doing a communications trip. We are meeting with you, we're meeting with CPI. We've tried to get our way around to all of the organizations out there so that we've got a broad coverage of this and we get feedback from everyone that we can get feedback on. Going through that, after the end of the semester, we will be implementing the quotas with a goal of starting to really work with the staff and the faculty on large exception environments beginning in the summer through the fall. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Can you clarify email, what the quota is for that?
So the
Remember,
question
if
was,
anybody has a question that they need to go to the microphones in the room and state their name and then speak into the microphone, please. Could you repeat that?
yes, the question was, are there limitations on email storage? And the answer is yes, but they're more system-based limitations than ones that we implement. There's not a storage limitation. There are volume of mail, and some of you are very good at keeping every email you've ever been associated with. I won't name names yet, but we would like to work with some of you on ways to archive some of your very impressively large mailboxes, just because it'll speed up your ability to work. But there are no limitations that we implement. The vendor, Microsoft, does have some out there, but for the most part, we don't bump into that.
And I believe that comment was directed at me. I'm just not going to take it personally, but thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Everything.
Frank. No, I try not to name names, but we do have a whiteboard list of them.
I'm sure I'm on it. Senator Ayave.
I have a question about the storage. So I have a personal Dropbox account, that costs me much less than the $360 per terabyte that is quoted in your slides. And, at the same time, we're always discouraged to use personal Dropbox, folders to store our data, right? So, uh, if I want to be cost efficient, particularly during these times, what do you recommend the faculty do?
Well, I totally agree with your analysis. We do not recommend things like Dropbox and Box, using USB stored drives. There's no backup of them. There's no way for us to help if something's lost. So yes, we would like you to use the university provided. There are state and system regulations on certain types of data must be stored on the university provided storage platforms. But just from I can't tell you, the number of people that have come to me over the years and said, well, I had it all on this thumb drive, and I just lost 5 years of research data because the thumb drive got eaten by my dog, dropped in a water bucket, went swimming unintentionally, whatever. There's not much I can do to help. I would love to tell you that there's some magical recovery cure. There's not. So yes, I would strongly recommend. I mean, there's lots of stuff out there. You can store things on thumb drives, but it's not best practice.
Any other questions in the room?
Yes, I do. Dale Rice, Arts and Sciences. So let's say that hypothetically, there might be someone in the room other than Speaker Price who might just happen to have, a few hundred or a few thousand or a few tens of thousands of emails tucked away. How should we go about getting those archived in a way that we could search them and get them out of your system eating up space?
Since you're just asking on behalf of a friend.
Yes, exactly.
I would recommend your friend reach out to the IT team and describe the problem that they're trying to solve. And I bet that team has a solution for that would allow you to thin down the collection, that individual to thin down the collection of emails at a much lower risk point than other options that are out there. So I would say reach out to your IT group in your organization and let them try to work with that individual, unnamed, to be able to reduce that.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.
Dr.
Not a one-time
Pearson.
ask if you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So what's going to happen on your May 18th deadline? And the reason I bring that up is the last day for grades to be due is the 12th. So that may only give faculty less than a week to purge things out.
They don't have to purge anything.
Okay.
So the question was, do we have to do something special on the 18th? No, if you've got X amount in use, you're getting X plus. So there shouldn't be any limitations on what you're doing. It's not intended for you to have to purge a bunch of stuff. If you need to have more storage, come work with us and let us find ways to do that. It may be you don't really need 3 copies of your history data from 2002, or we can put them on cold storage, which costs pennies per store versus dollars. But no, you don't have to go out and get rid of anything. You should have plenty of space to work. starting on the 19th and the 20th. We just wanted to make sure we didn't touch anywhere close to finals and getting grades turned in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Next, we have Dr. Christy Orr, who is the Director of Disability Resources.
She's hurrying to the mic as we speak.
Okay, and do we have my presentation? Yeah, perfect. There it is. So thank you all for letting me come speak to you today. Collaborating and communicating with faculty are one of my priorities. So I have really exciting updates for you. I think there are 3 really good things that are happening, and I want you all to be aware of them. So the first one is the next slide, and there we go. Thank you. So the West Campus Testing Center, you may have heard about this. This may be news to you, but we have been a part of the space allocation study, the capacity study, the student experience study. All of those mentioned our office. So part of that with the space allocation study, we were provided space in the Business Library and Collaborative Commons, which is also called West Campus Library. So right next to Wayner, not the Medical Sciences Library. That's a different building. This is right next to Wayner, right next to the new, really pretty building that they built there. It is currently being renovated, and it will be open as what we're going to call the West Campus Testing Center. The testing center has 3 large testing rooms, 2 private rooms. There's a lot more administrative space. So when we built our space in the Student Services building, we didn't anticipate the number of people behind the scenes that were going to need to be printing exams, scanning exams and uploading them, doing all of that behind the scenes work. So we have put space in on West Campus to be able to do that. We have 123 seats for test takers, which is more than we have in the Student Services building. We've got 96 over here. And we will provide accommodated testing for the West Campus classes. So when we did the numbers, it was about 30% of our tests are on West Campus. So at first we thought that's not a good thing because we need to have some more people pushed out there. But then we realized it'll be nice to start out a little bit smaller, get our operations all going, make sure we've got everything smooth. And then as you're probably aware, as they're talking about expansion here on campus, they are talking about expanding to West Campus. So potentially a new academic building out there. So we'll continue to support them out there. The other benefit is taking away 30% of our tests from the Student Services building will alleviate the overcrowding that we have now. If you're not aware, we will always meet our deadline. If a student meets our deadline, we will serve them. But what that means is we have staff members sitting in conference rooms proctoring. Next Wednesday night, I think I'll be in the MSC proctoring from 6 to 9 o'clock at night because we don't have space in the testing center because it's a busy time. So this is really exciting for us. We are opening in August, end of August. So when the semester starts, we will be out on West Campus. So we'll be serving public health, ag, Bush School, business, obviously right there. So that's super exciting. And we will be communicating more about that, but we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware. Second one is the disability resources liaisons. So this topic actually came up, well, let me start with where it's coming from. So this is one of President Welsh's initiatives. So it is coming from him and from the provost office. So the provost office is providing some support for this program, helping me out with that. It is an expansion of our current college model in some ways. So if you didn't know, each of our access coordinators in our office works with a specific college, or for the big colleges, we've got 2 or 3 people working with those colleges. That's the connection point from our office. What we didn't have really in any kind of uniform way was who the connection point is from the college or from the department back to our office. So this program we'll have at least 1 faculty and 1 staff member from each department. So not just at the college level, but at the department level. And that does include our offsite location. So we've been working with them for several years, depending on which offsite location it is, but Health Sciences, McAllen, we work with the DC campus, all of those campuses we work with. So they will also be part of this initiative. So training starts this Thursday, and we will be doing ongoing training each semester. And there's still some work to be done on exactly what this role is, but it really is kind of that on-site person. So it could be that a student has a question and they need someone in the department that can help answer that question. Or it may be that someone on our staff, we're trying to figure out a situation. And we really need someone who can help us figure out, like, what is the requirement in this department? Does it make sense? Like, this faculty member's telling us that, and we believe them, but is there another solution that we could come up with? So how can the department help us work to provide support to the student? Hopefully also they can be support to the faculty members. So if you have someone, when you have someone in your department that has a little bit more training and knowledge about what we do, they're a person you could go to if you're thinking, well, I want to ask this question, but I hear all the time, I don't know how to phrase this. It's going to sound bad. And I always say, you can ask me anything and I will not judge you in any way. But it's a little bit different if it's a faculty member that you can ask that question to. So we're hoping that will also support there. So then I also mentioned this supporting disability resources staff with departmental knowledge. The staff piece to it, I think, is a little bit more of, if there's a situation, particularly with testing. So sometimes with testing accommodations, maybe we have a student who, for some reason, can't test in our testing center. Maybe their classes are too close together and they need a space. Well, maybe that staff member could help us figure out a space over there and maybe they could proctor them or they know somebody who could do that. So it's really just trying to be more comprehensive in what we do. We have 13 staff members, if you include me. I don't work directly with a caseload of students, but I do some of the problem solving sometimes. So there's 12 people that are working with every one of the 6,000 students that work with our office. So this initiative is really trying to help. How do we provide some other people out there that can help with that? And we're going to be doing some pretty extensive training on that. So we're excited about that initiative. And then the last one is that we are moving to a new version of our data management system. So it is called AIM. If you work with us and you do testing accommodations or you get letters from us, this transition is going to occur after final exams are over, but it will occur in May so that we've got some time to adjust. If you are aware, when we moved to AIM initially, we moved about 2 weeks before the semester started in August one year, because that's how it worked out. It was fine. We made it, but it was really rough. So we're super excited now that we've got a whole summer to make sure everybody's on board, knows what to do. The new version of AIM, it's called AIM version 5. So it's their 5th version. It has a more user-friendly interface. So it looks a little bit nicer. It actually looks a little bit like the new Howdy in some ways, not totally. So whether you like it or not, it's a little different. It is more mobile friendly, which is really great for students. Not so much for me. I can't do that stuff on my phone, but for students, they love it. And it has some efficiencies, especially with testing, which is huge for us. There's some things that really are hoping are going to come through that will make it much easier and faster for us to scan and upload exams. So beneficial to us and obviously very beneficial to you guys if we can get that done faster. So, and then we're already using the multi-campus model. So that is where we can customize letters for remote campuses, turn off some different features. So we went to that in the fall and this semester, which has been really helpful for Galveston, McAllen, some of those campuses that aren't using like our testing module the same way that we do. So that's been something that's been really helpful. But hopefully this transition will be a little bit easier for faculty than when we originally transitioned to AIM. It's not going to be completely different, but I think it will have some features that make it better for all of us. So that's just 3 updates I want to make sure that you knew. Again, some of it you may be impacted more than others, but some really cool ways that we're continuing to try to connect and make things easier for you guys, for us, for students, and make things more seamless. And I'm happy to take questions, but I'm also happy to let the next speaker go.
Can I ask one question? So I've had some colleagues who are concerned about, they've been selected for this position, about both the workload and whether they will be properly trained for this. So
Yeah.
how much time are you expecting whoever's selected to this to have to give to this activity?
I don't think there will be a lot. It's really more of when you're needed, we will need you, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of ongoing. So our plan right now, so we have a 1.5 hour training that people have to go through right now. So in the next 3 weeks, I'm doing 1 a week. And then the plan is each semester to have the access coordinator for that college to meet with their representatives from each of the departments in that college. And it'll be very topical. So we will be asking them, what would be helpful for you to know? Let's lead a discussion about that. We may bring in some case studies of things that have happened. how would you handle it if it came to you? So it will be an evolving kind of process as we figure this out. I'm not aware of any other university that's doing something kind of to this extent. There's a lot of universities that use the college model, but not really getting down to this, really having trained liaisons quite to this extent. There may be, but I'm just not aware of anyone using this model. Great question. Yes.
Yes, Leonard Bright, from the Bush School. So building on your statement that this is new. So why are we doing this? What's the reason for this? Is there a problem that has occurred that we should be made aware of that makes, this more of this bureaucratic, way of doing things now?
Yeah.
And also, does this remove the faculty members who teach the class? Because it assumes as if the resource isn't the faculty member teaching it. I mean, we're still faculty. So what if there's a conflict between what the faculty of the class believes and what this resource? I mean, who makes the decision? But the larger question is why is this even necessary?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So this came about from several different things. One was there was a working group that looked at our office from 2023 to 2024. And some of that was because of a faculty member that had some concerns about a family member that they felt like wasn't supported enough through our office. So through the course of that study, over the course of that year, I think it came to light that our office was doing what we could. But again, there's 12 people serving 6,000 students. So when you look at numbers of students, our access coordinators have a caseload of about 500 to 600 students. So in order to actually work with them, it's really hard. So the option is you could give us a whole lot more staff members, which we don't have space for, and isn't necessarily what we need. But there's times where we really need to figure out what are some other solutions here that we may not be aware of. So we're working with College of Medicine, pharmacy. We're working with the DC campus. We've never even been there. We're working with McAllen. We have been there. We're working with so many different things. We're working with people who have to student teach, people who have to do presentations, who have to do senior projects. So there's so much knowledge that's needed that there's no way among the 12 or 13, if you count me, of us that we can know all those things. So it's really having some people out there in the departments that can help us with those pieces of information. More recently, there were some students and parents who came to the president with concerns. And when it came back, the concerns were not necessarily with anything that our office was aware of, could do anything about in the moment. But if there was somebody in the department that could have provided some advice or some guidance, it could have helped the situation better. So I think it's partly that. And then also just being able to provide the training to faculty. Again, I don't foresee it as being a huge time commitment, and we'll be evaluating as we go. The only thing I've left to do on my presentation is come up with the evaluation. So we're going to evaluate continually. And if people say this is too much work, we're doing too much, then we'll have to scale back and figure out what's a different model. How do we do this differently? But, the big answer is the president said, this is what I want to happen. So we're making it happen.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say that sometimes there are faculty, I think a lot of faculty will informally ask a colleague in their department when they have questions about the accommodations. And so it's just helpful to have a person next to them that knows the answers. There's lots of people they can ask, but sometimes they're more comfortable in asking a colleague. So I think this is just helpful in that concept. We've got a speaker in the room, but I'm asked, or question in the room, but I'm asked Senator Hubbard first. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Orr. Dr. Hubbard, the College of Medicine. And I appreciate everything you and your office are doing. But I sense an increasing trend that your office is being used by students who are underperforming academically. We've seen a huge increase in students who are failing courses, failing exams, who now go to disability services and all of a sudden have an accommodation for something that never existed previously. I understand the process of getting a diagnosis. I understand the different avenues students go through to get these diagnoses. But is there something that maybe is being overlooked where we're reaching out and being too generous to these students, and we're using these disabilities as excuses for underperforming academically?
Yeah, that's a complicated question. And I know that a lot of people have that question. There's probably people in this room that have that question too. So I appreciate you asking it. It's really hard to know. I will say that about 7% of our population here at Texas A&M, including our offsite locations, are registered with our office. But if you look at statistics from like the World Health Organization or any of those organizations, a really conservative estimate would be 10 to 15% of the population would have a disability. So even though our numbers are increasing, and sometimes we see it because someone's underperforming, we're still not anywhere near the expectation of what we could see. And we have some schools that are seeing 20% of their students that are registered with the office. So we're not getting anywhere near that. It's also hard to know if they had a disability, it wasn't diagnosed, and they're underperforming, it could be the reason. You know, it may not. And we know there are probably people, students, who are going and maybe not giving totally accurate information, getting diagnosed by someone. But if they are a licensed, certified, whatever, physician, psychologist, counselor, we really can't question their legitimacy. So it is an interesting challenge. You know, we don't want students to have accommodations that don't need it, but we really, really want to make sure that students who need accommodations, who do have disabilities that may or may not have been diagnosed earlier, are getting what they need in order to have access. So I do totally understand, but it's a really complicated issue.
So is there any potential of establishing some time frame during a course's existence that, you know, if we get into the week before final exams, and all of a sudden they come up with disability accommodations, for now they get time and a half or separate testing accommodations, you know, I'm concerned that these problems, if they exist, why did they just now start existing? Medically, we understand that sometimes patients don't want to talk about things. Sometimes they try to overcome them. But it's an increasing coincidence, I'm guessing is the best word, that the later we get in the course and the more these students are struggling academically, the more they all of a sudden come up with these accommodations.
Well, I think you answered your own question, Senator Hubbard, because the students, and my experience with that too, is that students are trying to go through it, manage it on their own. Perhaps they've been able to, or something has changed in their life, and or they just never have realized that that what they thought was normal was something that might need to be accommodated. And so when the students get to that realization, sometimes they're talking to academic advisors who, when they're struggling with courses, they may recognize trends that they've seen with other students and say, have you thought about getting, looking to see if you have an issue? So I think part of it is just simply that recognition later in the semester. And I apologize, Dr. Orr, for answering that question for you.
I always like when faculty answer questions for other faculty. That's the whole reason we have the Disability Resources Liaison Program. Yeah, and I will answer quickly. Accommodations do have to be reasonable. So if a student were to come to you and say, I need accommodations on a test tomorrow, that's probably not reasonable. So there, College of Medicine could make a determination that it has to be at least 1 week out, or else they're not able to provide it given the parameters of how you provide the exams and the planning that goes into it. So here on main campus, our testing center right now, it's about 3 weeks out that we require students to schedule their exams, but we give them so much notice, so many emails, there's signs, all kinds of things. So they know that, but it's just because of the planning that's involved in our space constraints and some of those things. So, and we do have questions in the room too.
Yeah, and do remember that it's not retroactive. So if a student has an accommodation, it's only moving forward. Okay, Senator Laporte.
Hi, Senator Laporte, College of Arts and Sciences. Thank you, Dr. Orr, for coming today. You've been doing amazing things with disability resources. I myself and Dr. Hill-Price sat on a working group last summer to discuss some of the challenges that you face, and I've seen some substantive changes as a result of that. So I just want to just highlight some of those things. One of the things that that came out of these conversations, and it might speak to Senator Hammond's concerns, is that I learned during the course of these conversations that a faculty member on their syllabus, and I think that we should move for this to be as part of the minimum syllabus requirements, is that the syllabus should state what is reasonable absences from a class for everybody. And I've started doing that in my classes. Any more than 2 absences is considered excessive and unreasonable. And that makes it much easier for me then to formulate disability accommodations for those students requiring it. So I would somehow move, I know that this isn't a formal move, but I think we need to be considering that on our minimum syllabus requirements. Then I know that I'm beating a drum because I'm an active learning champion on campus, and I feel that if more faculty move to small, low-stakes assignments throughout the semester with active learning modalities, we wouldn't have need for growing learning testing centres. I personally do not give exams in my classes, and I think that that is the reason why I have so many students with disability accommodations coming to my classes, because exams for me and for those students are very anxiety-inducing. So to that end, I noted that in the emails that you send about disability accommodations, you've now started to address them with DR at the front of the subject title. That is brilliant. I can instantly see who has disability accommodations in my class based on the email. But the second thing that I learned from the summer, sorry, this is a lot, was with the introduction of AIM 5.0, which you're putting in, a faculty member now can log into that portal and see all the students that have accommodations in their classes, which is brilliant for me because in 104 students, I have something like 22 students with disability accommodations in my class. I can log in to one portal without having to go back through my emails and find them. And in that one portal, I see all the students. So these are amazing things that you're achieving through the office, and I want to thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. We've got another one online. Senator Ariabe again.
Yes, I have a question about accommodation. So, and I do not know what to do about it. So every time that I get a request from the Disabilities Office, I immediately notify the students. I ask them to be responsible for arranging a time to take, the exam at the testing center. And I explicitly tell them that it is their responsibility to do it. If they don't, they have to take the exam in my class, right? Because otherwise, there's no other way for me to figure out or to accommodate them, right? So, what are I understand that there is a certain deadline from the Disabilities Office for the students to accommodate, taking the test, before the exam. What are those, what is the deadline? How many days before they have to do it? Because sometimes I tell the students and then they don't have any information. They let everything to the last minute, and then, they probably will be at a disadvantage because they have to take the exam in the normal time with less time, than required. But that's what I have had to do. So what can I tell my students next time?
I think you're telling them the right thing. It is their responsibility to schedule their exams, and we do encourage them to schedule all of their exams at the beginning of the semester, but they don't always do it. Now, I will say we would like them to, and every other student in the class doesn't have to do anything. They just show up on the day of their exam and take it. So we know that that's also something different they have to do. And also every other student can procrastinate on some things. And they can procrastinate within reason if they still have to meet our deadlines. And so if they don't meet a deadline, then they will have to take the test in class without accommodations. And that we tell them that. So they know it, sometimes they may not remember it, but we do tell them that.
Thank you. All right. In the room, we've got a couple of folks. Go ahead.
Hi, Deb Banerjee, College of Engineering. One comment and one question. So the comment is, I happened to serve on President Welch's, capacity study committee last year. And one of the things that jumped at us when we were looking at the numbers is the amount of, student growth that has happened. But I think the infrastructure has not grown in that ratio. So I think what you all do is a very heroic job, accommodating such a big expansion and still managing to get everything in order. So I really appreciate what you all do. One question I'm struggling with, and hopefully you can, help me with, usually towards the end of the semester, the last 2 or 3 weeks of the semester is when a lot of grandparents fall ill or die. And
I
also.
cannot help you with that. I'm
Right.
sorry.
So to solve that problem, I usually have spot quizzes in my class. And but the main thing I struggle with is students who need a distraction-free environment or a additional time for doing exams. And usually the spot quizzes are very simple. It's just to make sure that the attendance stays high. But how do you help those students that need those distraction-free environments? That's one of the things I grapple with. And I would really like to help them. I do understand some of them have that genuine need. So what would you advise?
Yeah, that's a great question. Quizzes are very challenging for several reasons. So I would say one thing is that hopefully with this liaison program, that's something that we can potentially discuss through with the different liaisons, what could be some options. So what's challenging is if you're going to lecture and then give a quiz at the end of class, and then you want the student to come to the testing center to take the quiz, but you're on West Campus, and then they got to get over to the testing center, and then they may have another class.
Right.
Or you want to give the quiz at the beginning of class, but then how do they get over to you in order to be through class so they don't miss any of the lecture material?
Mhm.
So that's challenging. One of the things that, is a great thing is if we can figure out a place and a person where they could just have their accommodations close to the classroom somewhere.
That would be very helpful.
So I think that could be part of this liaison program. The other thing is you can always reach out to the access coordinator assigned to your college and say, hey, and you can do this proactively. This is my plan for the semester. I'm going to give these quizzes. Let's talk about how we would accommodate students. It doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while we get that. And we have these great conversations of, okay, let's figure this out before the semester starts. We have a plan when a student comes in. A lot of students on quizzes say, I don't need my accommodations, I'm fine. But the few who say, I need the accommodations, we can't turn them down and say, no, you don't get accommodations for your quizzes.
Right.
So coming up with a plan proactively is really where we would like to move towards.
So how do I find out who's the contact for my college?
So on our website, if you go to the Contact Us button, and there's a place where it says Access Coordinator Assignments. And if you
Okay.
click on that, it'll tell you. And it's either Joshua or Elizabeth, I think. So
Sounds good. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
For College of Engineering, it's Joshua. We got another one in the room. I believe Senator Hutchinson.
Yes. Howdy, Richard Hutchinson. I have a question for what happens when they leave our university? Are we doing anything to teach them self-accommodation measures? Because anxiety isn't something that's accommodated out in industry. So what are we doing when they leave the collegiate
Yeah,
environment?
that's a question we get a lot of. So it really depends. So for some people, they will be requesting accommodations in their workplace. So it may be that, now you're all in different industries. So some people may be like, there's no way this would happen. But there's others that are like, yes, this could happen. They may say, you know what, I need a little bit quieter space. Like I could be in a cubicle, but can I be at the back cubicle instead of right here when everybody walks off the elevator? Or it may be that they do need, is there any way for me to get this project and know I'm going to have to work on it overnight and take it home with me and work on it? Like they just know that. Or they self-select into certain jobs that they're like, well, this is actually a job where for whatever reason, what it is that I need, I'm going to get my needs met in my job without having to do anything extra. They may be choosing remote work. I mean, there's a lot of different solutions. We do encourage you mentioned anxiety. For anxiety, we do encourage students to get help for anxiety because there are very concrete things that you can do with the help of a counselor to figure out how to help with the anxiety. So we encourage that a lot. We don't do that through our office because that's not our role, but we encourage it. But for other students, we do talk to them about how do you request accommodations in the workplace, because that is something that you can do.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, our last question is Senator Rubin.
Yes, just a quick question. Does the portal also accommodate students who are in the Health Science Center or at the satellite campuses? And is there a liaison for those sites as well?
Yes. So I would have to look. I know you know Tracy Foreman well, so she is from our side. She is your liaison. But
Okay.
I would have to look at my list, but we did ask for liaisons from all of the different health sciences areas too. I know Ernie Lacey was listed, but then there may be somebody different listed now too, that is more of a faculty member.
Okay.
But if you want to contact me directly, I could look at that and see.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And also to the point, I mean, with the accommodations is that, and I put it in the chat, is that this could be an opportunity for the Center for Teaching Excellence to work with you all to actually do a faculty development session on alternative types of assessments, because a lot of faculty don't actually get trained in pedagogy, and so they think that the exam may be the only way, that didactic exam is the only way you can assess knowledge. And there are lots of different ways, project-based learning, that will get you an assessment of a student's competence without just doing a didactic exam. So thank you for the work that you do.
You're right. And I could talk for 3 hours about exams and how I feel about them, but I won't do that right now. And we do love the CTE, so I'll reach out to them and say I'd be happy to be a part of that. We've done just a little bit, but nothing big about that yet.
Senator Bepst, Arts and Sciences. This isn't a question. I just wanted to make a quick comment that, with regards to previous conversation about, how can students get to this particular point and then find out that they have an issue. I know of a graduate student who had completed all of their course credit, and then they realized, as they were having trouble doing all the literature reading and writing for their thesis, that's when they realized that they had this real issue and went and got diagnosed for dyslexia. So, and I know even adults that, were in their 40s and their 50s and then realized that they had learning disabilities. So it really can happen late.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for letting me come give the updates. And I am happy to connect anytime if you want to connect with me directly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Orr. And some of you may have seen a big grin pass my face.
We did.
Because
You
I've
just
got a
froze.
brand new grandbaby. Okay, next we have Dr. Hart Blanton.
Thank you. Howdy. As it says in the agenda, I'm professor and department head of the Department of Communication and Journalism. Today, however, I speak to you in a different capacity as chair of a faculty task force convened by President Welsh and supported by his Director of Strategic Initiatives, General Kim Field. And I'll just mention in this capacity, I want to be precise, and in this context, I want to be precise. And so I have written out my talk, which is not something I do very often. But of course, there's opportunity for question and answers. We all know that will allow for a more free exchange. So in this capacity, I'm here today to introduce and seek approval to move forward on a project linked to President Welsh's Citizenship and Service Initiative. This project will be faculty driven with the aim of developing a proposal to guide the educational mission of Texas A&M. As chair of the faculty task force, my role will be to work with a team of faculty members to develop a draft document for review by the Academic Affairs Committee of the Faculty Senate. Following any recommended revisions, the document will then be brought to the full Faculty Senate for consideration, and we hope ratification as a formal faculty recommendation to President Welsh. As I said, this work arises from the President's Citizenship and Service Initiative. This initiative reflects a university-wide commitment to preparing students for lives of consequence. It emphasizes civic knowledge alongside critical skills in civil discourse, ethical reasoning, media literacy, and constructive engagement. It aims to help students navigate complexity, understand diverse perspectives, and serve their communities with integrity. Grounded in the Aggie core values, the initiative aims to strengthen students' ability to think critically, act responsibly, and contribute meaningfully to the public good. This initiative is envisioned as a broad campus-wide effort, one that will engage faculty, students, and staff in a renewed civic mission. The goal is not only to promote visibility or recognition of this commitment, but more importantly, to foster a culture of civic engagement and service that infuses university life. This can be achieved through a range of efforts, such as creating opportunities for dialogue and reflection across campus, integrating civic awareness into new student conferences, developing shared touch points throughout the student experience, building a dedicated web presence, and pursuing other initiatives that promote a sense of collective responsibility and investment in the common good. Today, I'm here to speak to just one component of this larger initiative, the work of the faculty task force I am chairing. We have been charged with re-examining the institutional learning objectives, outcomes of Texas A&M University. Now, in conversations with colleagues, I've found that these outcomes are often misunderstood. They are sometimes confused with or assumed to be part of the core curriculum, or they are mistaken for a university-wide framework that dictates curriculum. At times, I found they're also incorrectly believed to be requirements handed down by university administration, imposed by state regulation, or directed by governing bodies. None of that is the case. The first version of the institutional learning outcomes was approved by the Faculty Senate in January 2010, following a committee process that initiated in 2008. The document sought to define the learning outcomes expected of all graduates across the university. It was and remains a statement of our shared values and responsibilities, a declaration of what we believe we owe to every student who passes through the university. There are versions of our institutional learning outcomes created for both our undergraduate and graduate degrees, but my current charge focuses exclusively on the undergraduate degrees. If you were to search for the student learning outcomes for A&M baccalaureate degrees, and I suspect some of you are right now, you'd find a checklist, one that includes, among other things, the ability to think critically, write effectively, and work in diverse and global contexts. Many of us would find the full list of expectations to be entirely appropriate, indeed essential for our undergraduates. Although the current version of learning outcomes is sound, the task force has been asked to revisit this document for the first time in over a decade to consider how we might express these expectations more clearly, boldly, and purposefully so that they reflect the kind of education a Texas A&M degree should represent today. Our task is lofty, but I feel worthy. We are charged with crafting a new statement about the essential capacities that every undergraduate degree from Texas A&M affirms. What does every degree earned at this institution say about the student receiving it? What principles do we as a university stand behind with every degree we confer? To that end, the first item of business for the task force I chair will be to consider how we might reconceptualize what until now have been called A&M's learning outcomes, a term, as I noted earlier, that is often misunderstood. Our first step will be to determine a more appropriate framing and description for this document. Tentatively, we are calling it A&M's Degree Charter for Undergraduates. This charter will define the knowledge and capacities affirmed by every undergraduate degree granted by the university across every department, college, and school. It will express our shared commitments as a faculty to cultivate habits of mind, skills, and values that prepare students to engage the world with purpose, integrity, and intellectual rigor. Building on that foundation, President Welsh, through the Citizenship and Service Initiative, has posed an important question to our committee. What is the value of framing A&M's degree charter for undergraduates around a rich understanding of citizenship, one that grounds this concept in such capacities as ethical reasoning, informed engagement, and critical thinking, so that students are equipped to advance the common good in whatever path they pursue? Although the president is initiating this review, my role as chair will be to ensure that the answers we develop and the recommendations we ultimately provide him with are faculty-driven. In my meeting with President Welsh, he emphasized that his role is to pose the question, ours is to deliberate, reflect, and determine how best to respond. To that end, I'm proposing today a process by which we will answer this call. This week, I met with Speaker Price and will continue working with her and the next speaker, as well as the chair and co-chair of the Senate Academic Affairs Committee, to determine Senate representation on the task force. I will also coordinate with academic deans and university leadership to form a committee that broadly reflects the interests and perspectives of faculty across Texas A&M. That committee will be charged with drafting tentative language for the new degree charter. In fall 2025, we will submit that draft to the Senate Academic Affairs Committee for review and potential revision prior to bringing it to the full Faculty Senate for discussion and, we hope, ratification. It is my hope that this new document will serve as a bold aspirational statement, one that affirms the values we, the faculty of A&M, in partnership with the administration, believe should be reflected in every degree we confer. That said, let me also speak directly to what many of us recognize as the elephant in the room. As we all know, our university, like many others across the country, is operating in a time of heightened public attention to higher education. In such a moment, I would argue it is important that we reaffirm what has long been true at Texas A&M, that our faculty have consistently acted in good faith, with integrity and professionalism to uphold our academic mission. This faculty-led review of our degree charter reflects that ongoing commitment. It also affirms the productive and principled partnership between the Faculty Senate and President Welsh, one grounded in mutual respect and shared responsibility for the quality and purpose of the education we provide. President Welsh has posed an important question about the future of education at Texas A&M. He has entrusted the faculty with leading the answer. Although I do not speak for the president, I can say this. In our conversation, he expressed confidence in the faculty, confidence not only in our ability to meet this challenge, but to lead with clarity, wisdom, and integrity. This is more than a revision of outcomes. It is a chance to affirm who we are as educators and what we believe every degree should represent. I ask for your support to move forward on this president-initiated faculty-led process, one that answers the president's call to action while reflecting our shared values to shape a bold, unifying vision for undergraduate education at Texas A&M. I will now take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Blanton. And I appreciate the fact that President Welsh has asked the faculty to take on this incredibly important task. And I think it's one that we all agree. I think we can probably agree it's really necessary to make sure that we're having those conversations and really thinking about what it is that we want our students to learn now that I've just added a new class of 47 for what he will be seeing in the future. So are there any questions in the room?
No, Angie, there's no one at the mics now.
Okay, I have no hands raised online. I know that we'll be hearing more about this in the future.
I have a question. Sorry.
Oh, yes, go ahead, please.
So, I mean, this sounds really worth pursuing, but, you know, the baseline principle that we have is the Aggie. I mean, one of the baseline principles is the Aggie Honor Code, right? And I do not know if this is anecdotal or not, but I have noticed that students do not take even this most basic principle of citizenship within the university seriously. Sadly, I am involved in the middle of some major issue in my class where like 24 students are involved, right? And it seems to me that, you know, students are not even, you know, cognizant of these very basic principles. So yes, a lofty goal, we should pursue it. I'm all in favor of it. But, you know, if we are failing at some of the most fundamental principles that guide our academic life, I do not have much hope for what this entails. Sorry about that, but I'm really
I didn't hear
skeptical
the,
because
I
of this.
didn't follow the last part. What is it that causes you no hope?
So, you know, it is hard enough to get students to just follow the Aggie Honor Code, right? And that is just one element of citizenship, right? Honesty, integrity, etc. And that is hard. And students, you know, I have noticed that students are more, you know, blasé about it now than before. So the task is going to be very hard. And we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that, you know, if the Aggie Honor Code doesn't stand for much, there's not much hope for the rest.
Well, one thing I'll just say about this, I don't know that our goal in writing this statement is that we achieve perfect recall by the students of what our mission is. I believe that the point to this is that this is an opportunity for us to have a conversation, partly with us and partly with the public. But yes, also ultimately this will affect conversations about the students. But I think this is an opportunity for us to come together and say what we stand for aspirationally in terms of this institution. And in some ways, I think it's important for us to say we are affirming values that we already have in this room. And then if I look at the A&M's learning outcomes, I can infer that maybe from a bullet list to some degree, but I don't know that it's a bold statement about who we are and what we stand for. And as I mentioned with regards to the elephant, I think that this is a good opportunity for us to say what we're about.
We have Senator Banerjee with his hand raised online.
College of Engineering. I just wanted to add to what Senator Adelave had mentioned. I mean, it's a little tangential to this discussion, but since it came up, I'm a big fan of having a rigorous ethics curriculum or discourse in our curriculum. And maybe this is something that, Faculty Senate should look at as well.
Thank you. Any other folks in the room?
Yes.
I have a question. Sorry, Laporte Arts and Sciences. Thank you for the presentation, and I agree wholeheartedly. But maybe I missed it, and I'm just a little confused about the juxtaposition of this initiative and the citizenship initiative put forth by General Field. Is this in addition or as a sideline or a subcommittee, or how does it marry together? Because you did mention General Field's name and the citizenship initiative, which I think is wholeheartedly a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But how does it marry together? I'm a bit confused.
It is simply one component of it. And so if you look at the larger initiative, I think that one of the ways in which we talk about having the impacts that we want to have on the students is to really think critically about the culture we're creating as educators. And maybe one point of that is for us to have that conversation. So what are our aspirations, but what do we stand for? And to have that as a conversation that is there. Now, it's not a binding document. It's not that we have this statement and now we have to evaluate our courses in relation to it so that they pass those specific learning objectives. But we have made this statement and it's now part of the conversation. And so I think that, I don't know if the term charter will survive the committee, but I think raising it to this level of saying what we stand for is an important piece of this sort of, as communication scholars would say, persistent and consistent messaging about what we are about.
So Andrew Klein, College of Geoscience, College of Arts and Sciences. We can always wish things. So there's a little bit of difference, I think, between a value statement and some of the rather bland things or learning objectives. And I'm wondering how we can move forward with, are all the learning objectives going to be equally valued in this value assessment? I've looked at these many times, like one of the major one is master the depth of knowledge. And is that something that fits well in the value framework or not, for example?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a question for the committee. And one thing that, the way in which this question is being framed is citizenship the umbrella? And one way of thinking of that is saying, well, is citizenship ultimately, when is our conceptualization understanding of it, is that actually larger than our mission? The other would be, are there aspects of the learning objectives that don't fall into this? Our job is to critically analyze that and to provide a response. He's asked a question. He has not directed us to convert this into a citizenship document. But I do think that this conversation about this context does potentially create an opportunity when we look at this list and think about, that one specific thing that we're going after. What was the one you mentioned?
The first one, master the depth of knowledge of a subject.
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine that maybe taking on a little greater life if it were part of a document that had a preamble that had a higher purpose. But also, that is what we would learn from this discussion, from then coming back to the Affairs Committee and coming back to the Senate and having the conversation. So, so I guess in the follow-up meetings, one of the questions you can bring that question back.
Thank you.
And I think this is the beginning of the discussion too.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Andrew. Yes, please.
Yes, Leonard Bright, on the Bush School. So I raised this question before when the other general brought this to the foreground. So you mentioned that this is an opportunity for Texas A&M to speak to the political environments, to say what we stand for. So in the elephant in the room certainly is political environment, one of which is SB 37, that actually strikes out, a lot of what you're saying here that you want us to stand for. And so let me ask you, do you believe in to demonstrate social, cultural, global competence and the ability to live and work effectively in a diverse and global society? And again, I'm reading from the student outcomes. Articulate the value of a diverse and global perspective, recognize diverse economic, political, cultural, and religious opinions and practices. We have XB 37 that wants to strike all that out.
Yeah.
So do
Let me-
Texas A&M stand for those things?
I think that what's important is for us to have that statement. And now, of course, we're going to have to see what Senate Bill 37 says and what constraints it places on us. But that bill is, I was checking on this bill last night before I went to bed. I still got up in the morning and I went and I'm doing the job that I really believe in, which is relates to this institution, relates to the students. And I think that if the committee comes in and we are who we are and we express the values that we have, that is the document that we should put forward. Now, what world we're living in, I can't tell you what tomorrow is going to be, much less, the fall. And so we'll have to deal with that reality then. But what I am proposing is that we do have the conversation right now about what we stand for as an institution, which is this collective of individuals and our responsibility and our sense of obligation. And I agree with the items that you just said on that list.
So certainly we have room to resist this. So will Texas A&M still state that they believe in these things, even if SB 17 passes?
I don't speak for A&M.
Okay.
That's not my charge in the slides. My charge is to bring the faculty together and to determine what statement the faculty would like to make. Now, how the institution responds to the statement of the faculty, I also don't have any charge of that as well. But we have our role and we can see how the institution responds.
Anyone else in the room?
No.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Blanton. We look forward to hearing more.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, so we've got lots of speaker comments and I apologize. I know it's getting on, but I've learned a lot today. I think these conversations were very valuable and needed to happen. There's some things going on. I just want to remind faculty about the Title II accessibility. You're going to have faculty members in your college working on this. There will be training for faculty. Please make sure that you're aware. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, talk to your department head, talk to people in your college. Title II accessibility. It means that everything that we post online, including on our Canvas pages, must be accessible. So there is a great deal of information on the University Title II website. There is a lot of information available in the colleges. Departments and colleges are working on resources to support faculty that's still in the development phase. So just kind of don't pass that email by if you see an email come with that information on it. And then, I'm sorry, Dr. Ariave, do you have a question or is it something for committee of the
I
whole?
want to make a comment about this, what you just mentioned.
Okay.
And, I'm speaking on behalf of my constituents, particularly, faculty in my department. We are extremely concerned about this because, we're like faculty do so much, regardless of what the public thinks we do, right? And we have so many responsibilities. We have to be accountable for so many things. And this requirement, what this means is that the easiest way for us to be compliant is to not post anything, right? Because, frankly, it's going to be extremely difficult for the university at the college level and at the department level to provide any support for faculty to convert every material that we use to teach compliant. It's gonna take, and I mean, I have done it, for a tiny presentation, if I required to do compliance for this particular, aspect, for example, to NSF or any funding agency, it takes forever for just a single, few slide deck to do it. We're not gonna have the support. We will have to do it. We don't have time to do it, right? And my biggest concern is that the default is gonna be to not post anything online. And to minimize my work, that's what I would do personally, right?
I certainly understand that, and I will make sure that concern has been expressed previously, and making sure that the administration is continually aware of that concern. There are significant resources that are being placed into this so that there will be student workers and staff and people to assist faculty and to make it truly as painless as possible. I can't guarantee that it'll be painless, obviously, but they are generally trying hard to actually make it a
I am really, Angie, I'm really skeptical that a student worker is going to be able to help me set up my notes.
I
So they're
understand.
compliant, right?
No, I understand, and I will be happy to share that concern for sure, and to see maybe you would end up being a test case for our college potentially, and how those resources could be deployed potentially.
Or I just don't post my notes.
Again, that's a choice that you can certainly make for sure. Okay, so but do talk to people in your college and ask them how they are going to support faculty in this. I think those are very important questions to ask each in your college leadership to see what they are going to do to support that. I think it's a very important conversation to have. I took a day off and traveled to Austin again about a month ago to offer testimony for our about Senate Bill 37. It has changed since I went to testify or offer testimony. It has not gotten any better. They're talking about core curriculum. They have a heavy section about faculty senates. It has been amended somewhat. It's still the bulk of my testimony was basically talking about how awesome we are. Our rankings are exceptional. We are recognized against multiple places as being a top university, not just our word for it, but other people's as well. And so I was able to hopefully at least get on record that we are not broken, that we as a university function very well, and that is because of the partnership that the faculty has had with the university leadership over the last 42 years. And I think it's really important for us to remember, we think about, and we've got old records to show what the university was like before the faculty senate started, and the lack of consistency, the lack of guidance, the lack of really faculty review at multiple levels to make sure that we're being good stewards of our taxpayer funds, but also making sure we don't have duplicated coursework, things like that. So there's a lot of benefit that the faculty senate brings to our university. And so I also shared a copy of our constitution and bylaws with those senators as well for their information. I understand that the Senate is going to be debating Senate Bill 37 tomorrow, potentially, and then a version of it would also be taken up in the House. So it's extremely important to watch those conversations. You can look at the Senate and House websites for information about the particular bills that are on there. It is challenging times. It's very challenging times. We have, in addition to those many challenging times, we have our international students in situation. And so I'm sure that many things will come up or potentially things will come up in committee of the whole, but I'd like to share some points with you. And I'm sorry, I'm talking an awful lot today, but I think there's a lot of important information to share. So first of all, how is A&M working with those students? We have a website through ISSS, and Dr. Holly Hudson has been working very, very hard on supporting these students. Her entire team have been watching the information, learning globally about what's happening, or nationally what's happening with our students from other institutions, making sure that our students are supported as best we can to make sure that they understand what's going on, not that we understand. We do not have documentation or records that indicate that students are undocumented. We have a hub for students who are called what are other status students, that students can reach out to information or look up information that's available on the web, and that they provide information there to help students be able to gather that in a way that they may prefer to do that online. And that's for anybody who has questions. If students feel like they're unfairly targeted or questioned about their citizenships, they can report those concerns to their Office of Civil Rights and our Title IX. We actually do. That office is charged with investigating any Title IX or civil rights violations in the university. We are committed to providing safe and non-discriminatory learning, living, and work environments for all of the university. And that was a statement from the global programs, and that's true. I mean, I believe that all of our faculty have that commitment. And so they're going to make sure that they are doing the appropriate investigations if there are concerns that a student has. And if, again, we are complying with federal law to protect student data, if there are requests for official information or official requests for information, they have to go through the Office of General Counsel or the Office of University Risk, Ethics, and Compliance to make sure that we have official confirmation that they're required to do so by law. So, of course, if they're required to do so, they have to provide that information. The ISSS has been diligent in posting information and making sure that students have access to information on the web in case they're uncomfortable with talking to people. Maybe they're just very concerned. What's happening nationally has been a challenge because the document that gets eliminated does not change necessarily means the student has a different status, but so it leaves them in a very, I want to say odd, precarious situation. So we have had students who are in the SEVIS system, SEVIS, and I can't begin to tell you all what that all means, but it's the way that they track the status of our students to be with their visa and other status. And so there's things that have been revoked for students that the students don't even know. Our administration found out because we because there were other institutions that noticed this was happening to their students, and they started asking around, and so our institution runs those reports 4 times a day. And and I've got folks from global programs available to answer questions in committee of the whole about this as well, to help address those issues. We've also trying to make sure, again, that the students are supported, and we're finding out the very, very best way to support those students on an individual basis when their issues have been addressed. I mean, to support them in their individual needs. So it's a 1-by-1 situation. It is very much in flux. I don't know how many students have had those records changed. And so it's an extraordinary situation. It really is. And I will tell you that everyone I've talked to shares the same deep concern for our students of how best to support them, how best to help them, but it's be on an individual basis for each of those students. And then the last thing is about the elections. So again, and Dr. Ariave, if you've got questions, if you can hold those for committee of the whole, because we'll have someone who can possibly address those. And then the next one is about our election. So some of you have had some issues with the election. One of the things that we had to change to InfoReady because we were having issues with information about the for Qualtrics. There was a lot of concerns expressed by our senators in previous about Qualtrics. And so we are using a process called InfoReady. One of the challenges that we found is that not everybody has, apparently their net ID is set up in Workday in the system that helps identify the net ID. So we're trying to figure out that disconnect. If you're having problems with the ballot, you can email senate@tamu.edu and let the office know. If you receive an email from InfoReady prompting you to confirm your account, please do so. That allows you to bypass the SSO login. The SSO login on InfoReady is not connected to your TAMU alias profile. So I got an error as well because I have an alias. And so if your email address doesn't necessarily match your net ID, then that's where the complication can come in. So we're getting that straightened out. And we are requesting a meeting of the Elections Committee tomorrow to determine if they would like to extend the balloting time. Number of people have figured out that if, depending on how they sign in or get this sign in, then they can fix it. The other thing is that Chrome works very, very well. Safari does not work well. Senator Ayave, you had your hand up?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I think it's extremely important. I mean, other universities are doing it. We don't do it for, the whatever reasons, but it is important to remind our international students and faculty that they have rights and they're valued and they're welcome. I mean, I did it with my group and I told everyone, you are all welcome in my group, regardless of where you're from, what you believe in, who you love. You are here because you're valuable and you're smart, and I want to guide you to become a scientist that contributes to the world. We don't have a statement from the administration saying that, as far as I can tell. My students are afraid. My students do not know what to do. I mean, we need more reassurance, that, we take care of them and we value them regardless of what is going on outside, right? I mean, and if there has been a statement, I don't think that the statement has been strong enough, right?
I believe the statement has actually been made in the provost emails that he sends out on Fridays, but we'll certainly reflect that information back to them to make sure that they are making that statement. So thank you very much for making sure that everyone's aware of also just supporting their students. Thank you. Right, so let's go on to approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the March 17th, 2025 meeting minutes found in attachment A?
Doesn't seem to be anything in the room.
All right, hearing none, I declare the minutes approved as distributed. Moving on to the consent agenda, are there any questions or concerns on the April 14th consent agenda items? Remember, if you have a question or concern, it needs to be, the item is removed from the consent agenda without debate, and then we bring it up later in the meeting.
There's no questions, it appears, in the room.
And I see no hands raised online, so I will declare the April 14th consent agenda approved as presented. All right, so since there are none left, we'll go into committee reports. Does anyone have any questions or concerns with the Core Curriculum Committee annual report found in attachment C?
Can you repeat that, Angie?
About the core curriculum report? Are there any questions on the core curriculum report?
There's no questions in that room.
Okay, I declare the report approved as submitted. This is the good time when we get to approve the awarding of degrees to students who've met the requirements. Secretary Tarvin, please make the motion.
I move for approval of attachment D1.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye. It appears pretty unanimous in the room.
Think so online as well. All right, you may lower your hands. Does anyone oppose? Please raise your hand or say no.
There are no hands raised in the room.
Okay. I declare attachment D1 approved. Congratulations to those students who've met the requirement. Remember, this doesn't exempt them from meeting the requirement. It does say the faculty approve. Is there any discussion or feedback again to the faculty members on the Code of Conduct draft committee? Does anybody have any questions or comments for them? Senator Rice is in the room and he would be happy to take that information back. Senator Haney?
Yes, thank you. Are we going to be contacted on the issues that we sent to the committee? Because we're talking about discussions now, but I assume that there's going to be a push for a vote, but no one has contacted me about the concerns of my faculty or myself. So
I will share that back. Go ahead, Senator Rice, if you want to address that, but my belief would be yes in that. Now, whether, yeah, I will defer that to Senator Rice.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Senator Haney. We have actually looked at your concerns, discussed them, and I'll be getting back to you on that.
All right, thank you.
Senator Oldham, you have your hands raised. Is this about that topic? Okay,
that might be down.
All right. However, yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Then if there's nothing else on that particular topic, I now invite Speaker-elect Klein to take us into Committee of the Whole.
Does any senator have issues for Committee of the Whole? Some people are getting up now.
Senator Babst from College of Arts and Sciences, and in these fraught times, I feel that I will start with a bit of a icebreaker, and I will say that while in previous meetings there have been too many cookies, this meeting there are too few cookies. Thank you.
Senator Laporte.
I second that motion. Laporte, College of Arts and Sciences, I'm going to keep it light and fluffy and good news as well. Last Faculty Senate meeting, I went on a bit of a rant with regards to a few things that I felt like just needed sorting. And as a result of that, I can happily report that I've gone back and forth with Dr. Batista of athletics. And now the email subject line for all student athlete excused absences will start with the subject line, "This is a student athlete excused absence." So I'm feeling real happy about that. It's not as short and concise as DR, which is disability resources, but it works. Secondly, the main issue of my rant was the mobile access of the TELUS mental health support thing. I had a fairly lengthy conversation and fruitful conversation with Dr. Farrenwald of Health Services, and they had not looked at the mental health app using a mobile device. They had only looked at it using a PC. The experience no, that's not her fault. That's just, I mean, I do the same, right? It wasn't until a student came to me that I used it on a mobile device. So now, in her words, they are doing a deep dive into access to TELUS and other mental health support on campus, looking at it through a mobile lens, which I was really happy about. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Laporte, for getting our the athletics to do that for us. Senator Rice just stepped up. Is that okay, Angie?
Yes.
Yeah. Dale Rice, Arts and Sciences. Senator or Speaker Price mentioned Senate Bill 37 that may be coming up for a vote. And I just wanted to make sure that people are aware of the content of that bill. So just to cite a few things under the revised bill, senates can only be created by the regents with a maximum of 60 members. Presidents still appoint one member from each college and appoint the Senate leadership. There are term limits that are pretty stiff. They are into the weeds of limiting shared governance, including laying out the grounds for removal from the Senate. And basically, it would be useless for a Senate to have bylaws, a constitution, or anything else because it's all spelled out in this terrible bill. So anyway, I just wanted to make people aware of the bad legislation being considered by the Texas legislature.
Thank you, Senator Rice. And sadly, I do think if you have a chance to look at some of the bills, I think you probably should for your constituents. And there's a number of them out there. And I think Senator Bright would be happy to inform you what they are. Senator Price has her hand raised next, I believe.
So we've got Holly Hudson available to provide comments, but I just confirmed. So I was not imagining things the provost did say, and he said in multiple times in his emails at the end of the week, the administration is incredibly concerned about these students. And again, they're working with them, but they're also being affirmative and telling the students how much they're valued, and faculty and staff as part of the university community. And the ISSS has been communicating with students directly almost every day. So just to make sure that people understand that there is significant communication going on with them. And I don't know if Holly would like to be recognized to speak or add any additional information, or if I covered things.
Holly, would you like to say a few words to this body?
Thank you. I just appreciate your support. I think you covered things for the most part. We are doing our best to communicate not only with the students who have been affected by these terminations, but also with all of our international students and scholars. And we'll continue to do that. And I'm happy to answer any specific questions you may have, or here or offline in another meeting or conversation as needed. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Falvo had her hand raised next.
Hi, thank you for recognizing me. I am Catherine Falvo from Galveston, the College of Maritime Studies and Marine Sciences. And I just wanted to ask, I know that the Elections Committee will be meeting, you said tomorrow, Angie, is that correct? I really appreciate that y'all have worked to find a way to get off of Qualtrics. It really was wonky last year, and I appreciate that. But unfortunately, this election was just really bad so far. And I know that we can extend the deadlines, and I know that y'all are considering that. I'm going to humbly, though, ask you to consider redoing the election entirely. Not just because, like, I know that we could take more time and make sure that people can vote, but two things here are a problem. One is that I think people don't know how to know if they voted. Some people got like a confirmation, but never selected candidates. And two is that the Senate lost kind of a lot of faith in this. People are coming to us fairly angry. And if we could just say, you know what, we're going to do that again, I think it would rebuild some of that faith. I'm not certain tech-wise on this one, but if the problem is a confusion between NetID and your email, I also know that that might hurt remote campuses slightly more, because we actually have both TAMUG and TAMU emails. And I don't know that that's the case for other folks. It might be the case in other colleges. So forgive me if that's the case, but it seems to me like it's disproportionately hurting that. So I don't know that a good faith extending email at this point is actually going to get people to vote. I think it really might be a good idea to simply be like, you know what, we tried something new, it didn't work, and let's try again. The Elections Committee will decide that, obviously, but just a note that that might be worth considering.
Sure. And one of the we can talk to the Elections Committee about how we can deal with those. A possibility would be to deal with those on a case by case, because there are a lot of people who are able to vote successfully. And then, of course, if someone was not able to select a candidate, then there's the opportunity to vacate that ballot and have them redo another one. So, but we can explain all those details to the Elections Committee with no problem. Thank you.
Senator Sinha has his hand raised next.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I just want to make some statement or question about the international students who are facing some challenges about their visa revocation. So as you all know that United States is still, I think, the #1 country in education, research, and innovation, and international students play a major role in that journey. And now, because of this recent cancellation of their legal status, international students are living under fear and intimidation. So my question is whether the university is offering any legal help to those students.
Holly, would you be able to comment on that one?
Yes. So the university is not providing direct legal assistance to students at this time. We're unclear on exactly what we are allowed and not allowed to do given the unprecedented nature of this particular situation. What we are doing is connecting students directly with immigration attorneys that we know are willing to help provide some free initial consultations, and that their specialty is specifically immigration law. We're also connecting them. We have 2 professors at the law school who have come forward to offer some free assistance to students in these situations, and we are connecting students with those law professors and hoping maybe we'll be able to add to that number. That just happened today. So we are sharing resources and trying to connect the students with the appropriate legal counsel.
We'll take a question from the room now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Senator Hartel from the College of Architecture. There's a lot of concern over travel from faculty, how to advise their students who are traveling abroad to attend conferences to which their papers have been accepted and would like to attend those international conferences, but are scared to end up with potential problems of being caught at the border. I'm Canadian myself, and I never thought that I would feel that way. So I'm on a green card and I'm even scared to go travel to my own country. So I've been hearing things like from Canadian news that you should travel with burner phones and not bring your personal cell phone, because now custom agents are allowed to search your personal cell phones and computer devices and social media. Is this true? Is this not true? So we are hearing a lot of stories on the news. I can only imagine our students who are Chinese and from Iran and other countries who are on the list of travels concerns. And so in terms of advisement to those students, because at the moment, faculty that I know of are purely just saying, I don't want you to attend those conferences out of fear that they're going to lose their student. And those are amazing academic opportunities for growth for both faculty and students as well. So what is ongoing concerning travel abroad?
Holly?
So unfortunately, we can't make any guarantees with regards to a student's ability to return into the U, or anyone's ability to return to the US once they leave as a non-citizen. What we are doing is creating travel guidance, which is already on our website, but we're doing direct emails to our international students and scholars because the guidance that is being shared with faculty through immigration affairs is not necessarily the exact same for students. Again, we're advising students to be sure that they have all of their paperwork in hand. Some easy things such as make sure that you're traveling, if possible, with a citizen so that you have someone there with you to observe what's happening. I will confirm that there should not be any reason that an agent can remove your personal property from you without cause. However, we're also providing students with the guidance that we're receiving, working with OGC on what to do if you encounter trouble at a border crossing or if ICE comes to see you. So we are just trying to communicate with them. And again, unfortunately, there is no perfect answer to this, and it's all very situational.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure many people share concerns that were just stated. Senator Gilden has his hand up for a little while.
Sure. Thank you for the recognition. I just want to change a little bit of subject and then bring it up the new Howdy. We had a meeting with Mark. By the way, at this college, Eduardo Gilden College of Engineering, and some faculty here in my department had a meeting with Mark Huffstickler, the Associate Director for Information Technology. As it was a more like informal meeting to discuss the new Howdy. And we found that was really helpful if the Senate could bring some of the folks from information technology to demonstrate or to give a tutorial or some sort of the new Howdy, especially for if you have an administrative role. It's a little bit cumbersome, some of the new features or so. So it would be really helpful if the Senate can bring it up that somebody from information technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much for that suggestion. Given some of the grumbling in the room about Howdy earlier today, I think your colleagues agree with you. We'll take another question from the room.
Francesca Marini, College of Performance, Visualization and Fine Arts. Ollie, thank you very much for supporting the students and all of us. I just wanted to make a quick comment that traveling with a citizen might not make a difference because we go through different lines. I have a green card, I go through that line, and visitors and other visa holders go to another line compared to citizens. So you're going to be separated once you get to the border. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me clarify, because right now we are not being notified per usual when a student's record is terminated or if their visa is revoked, which are two different things, but we aren't being notified. And that's unusual. And so one of the recommendations that we're making to students is to try not to be alone or not to be, or when possible, to be with a person, a citizen, such that if something does occur, there is someone available who can communicate to our office or to your emergency contact that you have been detained, deported, removed, etc. So that, while I understand that's not a perfect recommendation, it's just one simple thing that we have been able to relay to students who potentially could find themselves in a precarious situation.
So we have two hands raised in the chat. Do both of these related to something that Holly is discussing, or are they other issues?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Senator Sinha.
I have a question that if a US citizen comes to the border and the border agent asks us to hand over our phone, are we supposed to hand over our phone? Do I have any right?
So I have been advised to advise you to ask an immigration attorney for specific guidance related to that. My understanding is that if there has to be cause for search and seizure, which would be handing over your phone. However, this is, again, an unprecedented situation, and this administration is not necessarily going through the usual routes of operation. So I would consult with an attorney prior to leaving to figure out what exactly you should do in these situations.
Thank you.
Senator Babst, College of Arts and Sciences. I believe the most recent report I saw was that there had been 23 terminations in SEVIS. Can you give us an update if there's been any more since that number?
There has not. That is the correct number. There have been 23 so far, the first starting on the 28th of March, and our last one was Friday. So we have not seen any since Friday. We were monitoring the system about 4 times a day. Now we're running reports a little bit more frequently just to ensure we get ahead of it as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Senator Arroyave had his hand raised.
Yes, I mean, but I was concerned about the Senate election. It was really a mess. And on top of that, the fact that apparently the Senate is not going to be what we know to be the Senate right now, frankly, discouraged me to, keep trying. So if the bill passes, I don't even see the point of, being a member of the Senate or even voting for anyone to the Senate, because I think that we're going to be more irrelevant than we are right now.
Thank you. My suggestion would be we need to go forward under what we currently have until something changes. So I would encourage everyone to vote in and be active participants. Senator Haney had his hand raised next.
Yeah, this is a question for Holly. Thank you for joining us. Are we following up with third-party vendors to make sure that they are also keeping in touch with our students that are going abroad?
With regards to the situation with international students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so we are working on travel updates and advisories for our students and faculty who are going on programs abroad, and also working closely with vendors.
Yeah, the third-party vendors that are required to work with.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Senator Banerjee has his hand raised.
Thank you, Deb Banerjee, College of Engineering. I have something that's tangential to this existing discussion. Two comments. One is, would like to express my frustrations with the new Howdy. Earlier, if I wanted to find out which are the students that are graduating this semester, it used to be just a one-click search. Now I have to hunt around, so don't really know why all these changes were made, and kind of confused as to why all these menus changed. Why couldn't the menus stay the same? And, the added functionalities could be put in a, an added icon or something. That's the first part. And the second part is, I'm wondering if anybody in the administration could comment on Faculty 180. I have not come across a single person who likes it. Even former administrators, current administrators, department leaderships, they all have expressed their frustrations with it. Personally, when I talk to them, even vice presidents that I have talked to don't like it. So I'm kind of wondering, if nobody likes it, why are we still keeping it around? And is there a plan to sunset it and, spare us from all this pain?
Thank you for your comments. There's a couple people from the VPFA office in here. So I'm sure the administration is aware of the frustrations of the faculty around 180. So thank you for your comments. So any other comments?
I was hoping somebody from the administration would comment on it.
I don't believe there will be anybody commenting from the administration on it. But again, I think the frustrations around Faculty 180 are probably known to the administration at this point. Speaker Price.
Just would like to remind faculty, yes, so go ahead and share that information on your frustrations and thing. Also would like to remind all faculty that there is a search for the Vice President for Student Affairs. That does tend to have an impact on the educational process. At least it's one of the considerations we look at. They do a lot of support for our faculty, but also, of course, all the programs that they provide for our students, and we work together to help support our students. And so I would strongly encourage you to attend the open forums for the Vice President of Student Affairs. It's posted on the Executive Search website. We'll get that out to all of our senators as well. Please participate. Please ask questions. Listen to the candidates. It's really helpful feedback for the committee. But we want to make sure that the Senate has the opportunity to make sure their voice is heard. Thank you.
And I believe everyone should have received an email today about those. At least I did. If there is no other questions, concerns, etc., I will turn the meeting back to Speaker Price.
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you for all the kind messages that I've received from folks. I appreciate that. And baby Philip says welcome. So, and howdy. Thank you very much. And I hope you have a lovely afternoon. Do I have a motion to adjourn? I hear a motion. I'm sure I get motion. So we're in adjournment. Thank you very much. Have a great day.